past experiences. Anyway, starting with the kale chips, which is probably the lesser of the two evils. And if you make kale chips at home with just healthy ingredients, I think they're probably alright, except for the fact that they're missing their water content, and so they're not hydrating to your body. These ones, however, they have, the first ingredient is kale. Again, that's fine. Then they have cashews. Now, cashews are not a raw nut. It's been proven several times over that the cashews, at least the ones in the bulk bins and the ones that we probably get our hands on for making this kind of stuff, they have to be heat processed in order to release them from the shell that they're in on the cashew fruit. And I've seen the cashew fruit in person when I went to Costa Rica, and you can't eat a cashew nut because it's inside this like tart fruit, and then you have to use some kind of heat processing to actually remove the nut from the shell that it's in. It's hard to explain, but maybe another video. Anyway, the cashews are not raw. Even if they were raw, they're high in fat, and that can slow you down for sure. The other thing in here, lemon, that's fine. Celtic sea salt. You know, I don't think adding salt is really good idea in most cases. Agave nectar. Now, agave nectar is not raw either. I mean, there's no person that can just pick an agave plant out and somehow create a syrup from that that's a sweetener. So there has to be some kind of intense processing to make agave syrup sweet enough to actually be used as a concentrated sweetener. And I don't even know why these savory kale chips have any kind of sweetener on them, but agave is definitely not a good idea to put in your body, and I always notice the difference, a negative difference, when I have it. Anyway, so too many kale chips, probably a problem. Then there's these wonderfully raw, and believe me, they are wonderful, cacao nib cocoa rooms. So as good as these sound, and it says on the back that, you know, you can have health through raw living foods without any guilt. The truth is, yes, these are sinfully delicious and guilt-free, says right on the package. The truth is, the first ingredient is raw coconut. Maybe it's raw, I don't know how it's processed. But coconut can be heavy on your system, and if it's got a lot of fiber, I notice that can make me gassy too. Almond flour, depending on where the almonds are from. Around California, it's a law for almonds to be pasteurized, so you can't get raw almonds in this area unless they're imported from Europe or something. And then the third thing in here, which is really funny, is maple syrup. Organic maple syrup, mind you, but there's no way that maple syrup is raw. How they get maple syrup is by tapping into the sap veins of large maple trees, and then boiling them for long, intensive periods of time to make a sweet, sticky, concentrated sweetener that tastes hecka good, I agree. But not only is it not raw, because that's not really the issue here, but it's just to eat very much of it, if any at all, is just not good for you. And I personally am very sensitive to sugar and shouldn't be having any concentrated sweeteners whatsoever, as my friends would attest when they've seen me go on my sugar addict binges. So, kale chips, cookies, and the likes, I think have really been getting me down. In fact, I know they've really been getting me down. I don't feel this way when I'm not eating these, but what happens is it's like a snowball effect. Like, I'll go to Cafe Gratitude for dinner with someone and have a raw pizza, and then the next day I'm craving some raw crackers, and then the next day it's just like, oh, just a salad doesn't sound fun enough. Let me have some kind of fancy dessert, or buy a bag of raw granola and munch on that while I'm on the computer. And before I know it, I get out of tune with what really is healthy for me, and my taste changes so that for some reason just plain greens and tomatoes and cucumbers doesn't sound as good as it usually does when I'm not addicted to raw living foods in the package. So yeah, even though these say they're raw and they're living and all that good stuff, they're not necessarily raw, and they're not necessarily going to be health building. So you know, you have to try out for yourself and see what works, but no matter what anybody says, you can always feel how your body feels. And right now, believe me, I am way too tired and way too groggy to be doing all the things that I need to be doing. So I figured I'm kind of home by myself this week. My friend went to Korea, and I can have some time to really look into what's missing in my life, and a lot of that is spiritual. I always know that. So kind of have some time to myself and think about what I need for my body and for my life, and just kind of eat out of the garden. I mean, I should be able to go a week just with all the food here, because there's even root crops. There's beets and turnips and such. Kind of let my body cleanse and take a rest from all the digestion, and just eat real clean, real simple out of the garden, and see if I can't reset my system and then go back to a much healthier, high raw living food diet. Anyway, I'll take you around the garden and show you a few things that can be picked for dinner. And thanks for watching and hearing me out. Bye.